Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about the case of Susana Morales. I learned about this case because I watched Jackie Flores here on YouTube, and she did a really great video on her. So I highly suggest Jackie Flores to check out her take on Susana, but also just her channel in general. She's really good. All the links that I used for research will be down below, and let's go ahead and jump into this. So, Susana was only 16 years old when she went missing in July of 2022. Her family told police that they hadn't seen her since July 26th. So, that night, she texted her mom at 9:40 p.m. to tell her that she was on her way home, which is on Santa Ana Drive. Or she was on Santa Ana Drive. Officials confirmed an app in her cell phone showed that she was walking in that direction on Singleton Road from Windscape Village Lane between 10:07 p.m. and 10:21 p.m. But detectives said that they had reason to believe that she died between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. the next day, which would be the 27th. So between 10:21 p.m. and 10:26 p.m., her cell phone indicated that she was in the area of Oak Walk Trace and Steve Reynolds Boulevard. Her cell pinged that location until it either died or it was turned off. And of course, like we know with these cases, she did not make it home. So they really didn't have anything for a while, but then a breakthrough came through on February 6th when officers responded to the area between Drowning Creek and Barrow County after someone reported seeing they believed were human remains in the forest. So the Gwinnett Medical Examiner's Office tested the remains and said the DNA did in fact match Susana's dental records. So unfortunately, they did make that positive match. The site was about 20 miles from where she was last seen. There was a search of the area and where her body was found, and officers said that they found a firearm belonging to Miles Bryant. So, who is Miles Bryant? We haven't heard of him in the story so far. Who could he be? I'm about to tell you, and you're going to get pissed off. So, he was the 22-year-old Doraville police officer who filed a false police report to cover his tracks. Yep. I think you know where this is going. By the way, this was filed the day after she went missing, so the 27th. He claimed that he was busy working as a courtesy officer at the Sterling Glen apartment when someone stole his Glock 19 handgun, his military ID, and his wallet with his credit and debit cards in it. He also lived in the complex, and guess what? So did Susana. So you see where I'm going with this? Yeah, the dude's a creep. So he claimed he left his truck door unlocked when the theft occurred. Police marked him as a person of interest and began to watch his activities, and they eventually found evidence that, quote, directly linked him to the crime. So this is actually a quote from Gwinnett PD, and they say, "We believe that Miles was armed at that night, and we believe at some point he simply lost the weapon there. They don't believe he fired the gun during the encounter, but they don't know if maybe he used it to force her to go with him." In the warrant application, they allege that he dumped her naked body in the woods. They suspected him of rape, but he hasn't been charged with rape yet. He has been charged with felony murder, kidnapping, and making a false report. So, although he hasn't been charged with a rape, Gwinnett PD says that it's still a possibility that she was sexually assaulted, which is absolutely horrifying. And he's being held without bond. They also said it's possible that he had been watching her before she died, as in, I don't want to say stalking her, but he was definitely keeping an eye on her, which is so creepy. She was 16. So the police chief, J.D. McClure, called her death an unspeakable tragedy, and this is actually a quote from J.D. McClure. And he says, "This type of crime at the hands of a law enforcement officer evokes anger. Even within the ranks of this agency, police officers should always be pillars of trust." End quote. And I have to say that I agree, although I feel like they hardly ever are pillars of trust. In fact, they seem to be some of the most untrustworthy people. So, that is what I have for you. Let's talk about it. So, obviously, Miles Bryant, a fucking creep. Even if she wasn't 16, let's say she was at least 18. She was an adult, let's say that. The idea that he has been watching her is just so creepy, because in my head, that kind of feels like he's thinking about doing something. It kind of feels like he's making plans, and if that's the case, that definitely feels like first degree. I definitely believe that he is the person that committed this crime ultimately. We don't know what the evidence that directly links them, other than they said they found a gun. I don't know if that's been released. I wasn't able to find anything, so I'm not sure if there's like maybe DNA or something. Or I don't know what else it could honestly be. But I definitely feel like it was him. It's just really, yeah, he's 22. He's not super older than her. It's the fact that he was watching her, and she's 16, so she's a child. That's so creepy. It's super heartbreaking to think that she could have been sexually assaulted before she passed. I cannot think of the trauma and the fear that she was going through before she died. I can't imagine what he did to her to make her go with him. It's alarming to think about, especially from someone who is supposed to be, like J.D. McClure said, a pillar of trust. He is someone that you should be able to go to and trust, and obviously you can't, and it's just so scary to know that there are people like that out there that are doing this kind of things in that kind of job position. So, going back to the times, so she was walking to the direction of her home, Santa Ana Drive, and she was on Singleton Road from Windscape Village Lane between 10:07 and 10:21 p.m. That they believe that she died between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And then between 10:21 p.m. and 10:26 p.m., she was in the area of a certain street, and then it would just ping there until she died. It feels like she was walking on her way home. Maybe he was watching her, following her, and maybe he picked her up. Whether that was by force or, she got in. Maybe they knew each other, maybe they didn't. I couldn't see whether or not they actually knew each other or they crossed paths beforehand. Just that they did live in the same apartment complex. So maybe he could have been like, "Hey, I live there too. I can give you a ride." And then something happened in the area of Oak Lock Trace and Steve Reynolds Boulevard, because it pinged there until it either died or was turned off. Maybe he attacked her there. He maybe turned off her phone or something. Or just threw it there, maybe. And then maybe he took her somewhere else, maybe to the woods where she was later found, and he assaulted her and killed her. I kind of feel like maybe that is what went down. I don't know why they would say it like between then and 2 a.m. I don't know why it makes them think it was that far out. I kind of feel like maybe it would have happened pretty recently. Pretty quickly, I should say, after he took her. And I feel like if her phone was pinging around that time, 10:21, 26, I kind of feel like it happened pretty fast. I don't know. I don't see him wasting time. But let's go on to the false police report. I cannot believe he filed a false police report to cover his tracks. I don't, did he lose his gun there? That has to be the dumbest thing you could have possibly done. to say, like, hey, it's missing, and then your gun shows up with a body. Sir, you were not thinking clearly, were you? And I just want to say that he claims he left his truck door unlocked when the theft occurred. I want to know why you're leaving your gun in your truck, why you are leaving your military ID in your truck, your wallet with your credit and debit cards in your truck. One, why are you leaving those things in your vehicle? Two, why is your vehicle unlocked? You can't trust people, and I would feel like as a police officer, you'd be more careful about that stuff. That feels kind of weird. It feels like too easy for him to be like, this happened. It was just, it went missing. I don't know. It's just really weird that he would do that, in my opinion. I know he probably had to cover up why he didn't have his gun anymore, but just saying, like, hey, I left it in my truck and then it got stolen, it just feels really, really weird. And then just lastly, I really want to know the evidence that directly linked him to the crime. It can't just be the gun, because they obviously found something while they were following him. They'd never said what it was. I wish they would release that. I'm really interested in knowing what they found. It has to be DNA. I don't know what else it could be. Maybe surveillance. But I'm really interested in knowing what else they have on him. But what do you guys think? Do you think maybe he picked her up and then he did something pretty quickly after? Or do you think maybe he had her around him for a while after? What do you guys possibly think happened? Either way, this is so, so sad. She was a very young, beautiful girl, and this creep took her life from her. And I don't know, I don't believe he's gone to trial yet. I wasn't able to find anything when I was doing research, so I'm pretty sure he's still just in jail. I hope he gets the max sentence he could possibly get. She was a beautiful, vibrant young girl, and he just took advantage of her, and he should have to spend the rest of his life in prison as far as I'm concerned. If Susana's family comes across this video, I am so sorry for what happened to her. I really, really hope you guys get justice because you guys deserve it and Susana also deserves it. But that's going to be all from me today, guys. Thank you so much for listening to her story, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye, guys.